guys, and welcome to another episode of Suit Up, the Warframe in-depth review series. Now I know this is going to be in a weird order to the other Suit Up episodes, since I've not done the modular episodes for the augments, however they will be coming in the course of this week. However, the focus of today's video, our favourite Rag and Bone Man and Master of Death, Nekros Prime. It's probably one of the most hyped frames in a while because of his general popularity and his recent rework, meaning that people are really playing him a lot right now, making him highly desirable. But does he deserve all that hype? Well, the frame itself comes with a couple of upgrades to the standard one, with an increase in power from 150 to 187.5 at rank 30, that makes quite a bit of sense, and an increase in his base shields from 270 to 450 at rank 13, which doesn't quite so much. But the remainder of his stats remain exactly the same: 300 health of 30, 65 armor, 1.1 sprint speed. His stat upgrades, they're not insane like some of the most recent primes, however it's enough to make him worth upgrading to over the standard frame. But it's in the abilities where Nekros and his prime really shine. The first of which is Soul Punch. Nekros will hit the target with telekinetic force on a single target within 50 meters. Deals 500 impact damage, ragdolling the enemy, meaning effectively stunned for a few seconds. Damage is affected by damage mods, range by range mods. However, it has a secondary effect of literally punching the soul out of the target, causing that to become a projectile, dealing 50 impact damage to those it hits, with 50 impact damage being applied as an AoE when the soul hits a hard surface like a wall or the floor. This ability is actually really good, cheap, spammable crowd control. The ragdoll really makes it useful for using on single high priority targets like a spooled up heavy gun or a bombard, and can really reduce some of the incoming fire onto Nekros. But if you can't crowd control them with Soul Punch, you can always use his second ability, which is Terrify. Once again, Nekros relies on telekinetic energy, however this time it's going to cause 20 enemies to return tail and run away for 25 seconds over a range of 15 meters. Not only that, but the enemies will have their armor reduced by 20%. This ability is affected by a ton of stuff. Number of enemies that run, and the armor reduction is affected by power strength, range by range mods, duration by duration. The armor reduction also worked with corrosive projection to further reduce their armor. Recasting the ability will make sure to affect enemies that are not affected by the ability already. So it's another fantastic ability here, some great crowd control applications, making enemies not only run away, but it reduces their armor as well, so not only have you completely stopped those 20 enemies shooting at you, but on those heavily armoured units, they're actually slightly easier to kill while they're running away. But what do you want to do once you've killed them all while running away? Well, you want to desecrate their corpse, of course, right? Right? Well, that's its third ability anyway. For an ability, it has a 25 meter range to it, 54% extra chance of dropping loot. There is an awful lot to this ability. In terms of what it's affected by, nothing affects that percentage chance, however the range is affected by range mods. Desecrate recently got made into a toggleable ability, where the first corpse has a warm-up timer of 2 seconds, probably a poor choice of phrasing with that really, warm-up with the corpse, okay, but whatever. After that, 1 corpse per second will be desecrated at a cost of 10 energy per desecration. Now, that energy use can be reduced with the use of efficiency. Now, Desecrate can help drop extra ammo, mods, energy, life support, and has a very high chance of health orbs, making it synergize really well with Equilibrium. Pretty much everything can be desecrated, other than some bosses and some of the mini-bosses. Things like the G3 and Vor, they can both be desecrated for extra loot. Now, Desecrate is pretty much the go-to ability for loot generation in Warframe. Farming that rare stance, Desecrate. Farming Endo, Desecrate. It's a super useful ability, combining that with weapons with Pure Slash to cut bodies in half. Each half counts as a new corpse and can be desecrated individually. It's an incredibly useful skill, and probably one of the most popular in the game. But it's all well and good, you know, punching souls out, making them run away in fear, and then desecrating their corpses. Why not do something more with those corpses? Well, Shadows of the Dead literally brings those corpses back to life, 7 at a time. Gives them 150% damage, 100% health boost, both of which is increasable with power strength, although that number of 7 is capped and cannot be more or less. The Shadows will lose 3% of their health per second while the ability is active, however recasting the ability will heal the currently active Shadows and teleport them to you if they're more than 30 meters away. Doing this will also half the cast time, since then you don't need to summon a new Shadow to replace anything. To add potential Shadows to the pool, you need to kill at least one enemy, and then carry on killing, basically killing as many as you can. When you summon shadows and they die, they are removed from the pool of potential shadows, so you should always try to make sure that if you're thinking of recasting to update the enemy level, your shadow level, sorry, if you have enough of the units you want in the, just make sure you've got enough in the pool of shadows. If you go down and die, your pool of shadows is completely reset, so you will need to kill more to be able to use the ability again. Now the shadow spawning does follow a priority list, with units like bombards, napalms being chosen instead of butchers. There is far too many to list here, and I will leave a link to the wiki below to the summon priority list. This ability, it's fantastic on its own, with the shadows doing enough damage at low to mid level to kill for you, but also draw enough fire away from Nekros that they really add to his survivability a ton. And that is before you add the Shield of Shadows augment. Now one more quick thing to mention about Nekros is that it does have the passive ability where he will restore a small amount of health for every enemy that dies close to him. Either his own kills or his allied kills. So that can be a decent boost to his health in a tight spot if you're killing efficiently. So talking of those augments, don't forget that I have videos for those coming very soon. But let's have a quick look at the builds I have for Nekros, and I have 4 of them. Once again, more than we actually have slots for. Remember though that these builds are ones that I have found useful, fit my playstyle. If you can use these to help improve your build or give you ideas for your own, then that is awesome. Now my first build is effectively my everyday build, where I'm just doing anything that's not particularly taxing, not particularly difficult. It's a great mix of tankability and not ridiculous energy costs for any ability casts. Gonna add 3 former, one of which being the aura. I go with corrosive projection as standard these days, but this is personal preference for sure. Then I have vitality, power drift and intensify. Power drift and intensify is obviously power strength, stretch for range, health conversion to work with desecrates health orbs to give extra armor, basically more tankability. Equilibrium here is our efficiency, turning health orbs into energy and energy orbs into health. Provided you're killing efficiently, that will work with desecrate. You will never ever run out of health or energy if you've got that up. And then we have 3, yes you heard me right, 3 augments. Shield of Shadows for more tank in a tight spot, Soul Survivor for instant teammate revives, and Despoil for extra health for desecrate, or for using health for desecrate instead of energy. As a general build that can run any mission with no problems whatsoever, it's actually pretty decent. The extra armor from health conversion combined with 61% damage reduction from Shield of Shadows can actually make this a pretty tanky build. I probably wouldn't take this into sorties, although it actually probably wouldn't do too badly. But for your average mission, this will work just fine, especially if you combine it with Arcane Energize or Xeneric. You will never have energy or health problems with this build, provided you keep on killing for Desecrate to do its thing. Now this actually leads me on to the second version of this build, which is actually one you saw in my original Nekros video like a couple of weeks ago. Takes advantage of some insane synergy to try and push things as far as you can. Corrosive projection, power drift and blind rage for power strength, stretch for range, equilibrium and health conversion for efficiency and extra armor, much like the previous build, prime flow for their energy storage buffer since the efficiency is bad on this build, then despoil for desecrate. This build relies very much on the synergy between vitality, health conversion, equilibrium, despoil, desecrate, arcane pulse, arcane energize, Carrier's Vacuum, and Xeneric's Energy Regen. Between all of these, you can get a seriously tanky frame that can face tank up until really high levels. About level 115 was where I stopped being able to take the damage anymore, which is more than you're ever really going to come up against. You can see in the footage in the background, although admittedly it was more difficult at the higher level once Carrier get one shot by a bombard, you have to actively go for the drops to keep yourself going effectively. But if you are good at doing that, then this is a build that looks ridiculous when you look at it in the arsenal, and should never really work. But man, it is kind of crazy how good it is. I've even used this in normal Exterminate, just a normal star map Exterminate, and I've been able to keep the shadows up the entire mission. It is very strong, and with this synergy, it's easier to keep running than it actually seems. Now, I know this is a highly min-max build here, very highly, more highly than I usually do. Pulse and Energize, they are not cheap arcanes. So one way to get around it is to replace Blind Rage with Transient Fortitude, put another former on the frame, put the, I think it's the Xeneric one in for the augment slots, and then replace Stretch with Prime Continuity. You don't have the efficiency problem, and you don't need to cast your shadows quite as often, although you do drop 20% damage reduction and a bit of range doing this. It's going to be personal preference, but there's a bit of leeway here for you to tailor your build a bit. Third build, basically your standard Desecrate build, nothing special here. Corrosive Projection, enemy sense for enemy radar, so useful and underrated mod. Vitality, health conversion once again. Overextended stretch and cunning drift for maximum range. Fleeting for its efficiency, since we don't care about duration here. That's not a problem at all. And then Despoiled and Soul Survivor once again. It's basically your standard Desecrate build at this point. Max range for max loot generation. Pair this with a pure slash melee and you are golden. Endo and cores for days. Now, the third build is one for an augment that I don't particularly like. Well, I guess it's the fourth build, as I'll explain in its video. But we have Vitality on there, Equilibrium once again, Overextended and Cunning Drift for range, Blind Rage for power strength, Palm Continuity for duration, Streamline for a bit of efficiency, and then once again Despoil. This time, Creeping Terrify. It's a pretty decent crowd control build designed to slow the game down to a crawl, allowing you to easily dispatch the enemies that are running away from you and then desecrate them for loot. It's a very effective build for sure, and it's very good at its job, even if it's not one that I particularly like very much. So what do I think of Nekros Prime, and now I've had a bit more time to test his rework? Well, personally, and I know this might raise some debate, but I would say he's one of the strongest solo frames in the game right now. Personally, I don't see any reason not to play him. Cheap spammable crowd control on his 1, AoE crowd control on his 2, extra loot from 3, and his survivability on his 4. And then the augments for him are incredible. One of the very, very few frames where all 4 of the augments are amazing and really serve to enhance his skill set. Now, I would say though that I kind of wish they would up the percentage on the shadow augment slightly, maybe to 7 or 8% instead of 6, so that you don't need quite as ridiculously high power strength to be able to hit the 90%, because realistically it's pretty damn hard to hit that just reasonably, to be honest. Not without all of the synergy I talked about earlier. I also feel the drain is still a little bit high, and because it's percentage based, the drain on a level 10 shadow is going to be the same on a level 100, but I guess that's a small price to pay. Now, I've never really been a Nekros player beyond loot generation, to be honest. Since the rework and the fact that you no longer have to sit there spamming the crap out of the 3 button, you can just get on and play him. And with the reduction in his shadows, the actual amount of his shadows, it feels like the AI doesn't quite have as hard of a time working out what they're supposed to be doing anymore, which is the main reason I never really used the shadows build before. There is, however, a fairly major bug with shadows right now. It is something to be wary of, is if you are too close to your nullifier shadow when it spawns, even though it spawns with the bubble down and goes up like normal nullifiers do since the recent hotfix, occasionally it will spawn as an enemy nullifier for a second before switching to a friendly one. It can dispel your shadows it's too close to, or even disable your own abilities permanently. Although the second one may be fixed, I'm not entirely sure on that one. Personally though, Nekros might replace my Mesa for a while, gaining additional resources, mods or endo while I play, especially since I no longer have to stand in one spot spamming the ability. It's glorious. It is something that I've massively enjoyed since the rework. Plus, let's be honest, Nekros Prime looks incredible. Even if I do have the old Rachnis helmet on there, I think it suits him. Do I think he's worth the former? Hell yes, I do. He's such a versatile frame that can fit a number of different playstyles. He's worth the farm, worth the former, and I know I absolutely do not regret it. I hope you enjoyed my in-depth, if slightly lengthy, look at Nekros Prime. Kudos if you made it this far. Please leave any feedback or questions in the comments below and I shall try and answer them if I can. Augment videos for Nekros will follow in the next couple of days. As always, many thanks for watching. I shall see you in the next video.